Neuro-linguistic sales programming, NLSP, the newest approach in selling today. But does it really work? This is Century Park East in Los Angeles, California. On the 15th floor is a small investment firm which is doing billions of dollars worth of business. Meet Joseph Patterson, chairman of the board for Patterson Capital Corporation. This year, his company is managing over $3 billion for major industries throughout the United States. While there are other factors which contributed to this success, NLSP clearly played a major role in helping this investment firm become significantly more effective. And Toshiba Medical, headquartered in Tustin, California, made a dramatic move from 2% of the U.S. market to better than 5% of all X-rays, ultrasound, and CAT scanners sold in America, all during a 3-year period. NLSP was attributed as one of the significant contributing factors leading up to this remarkable move. Tom Olds, who sells wind turbines for Zond Incorporated, also discovered what NLSP can do. After adding these techniques to his selling, Tom's earnings went from $32,000 to $247,000. The following year, they reached $450,000. And this is Ed Michaels, a #1 salesman for one of the largest retail chains in America. After using NLSP, Ed's income went from $43,000 to $78,000. And today, Ed earns $180,000 in retail sales, in part because of NLSP. What then is neuro-linguistic sales programming? Why has it helped these people become so successful? What hidden advantage does it apparently give those who use it? That's what this film is all about. This is Dr. Donald Moyne, founder and president of the Association for Human Achievement. In an interview, he reveals many of the hidden techniques used by some of the most successful salespeople in the world.
As both a psychologist and a sales consultant, I've spent the last 13 years of my life studying some of the most successful salespeople in the world. I've discovered what they do that other salespeople don't do. And out of this, we've developed neuro-linguistic sales programming. A fundamental part of this system is what we call the science of building trust and rapport. We have found that highly successful salespeople build an unusually deep and high-quality sense of trust and rapport almost from the first moment of contact. Now, this may not seem new. As a matter of fact, it may seem as basic as Sales 101. But what is new is the quickness and the quality that they put into building this deep and lasting sense of trust and rapport with almost anyone they meet. How do they do this? From the very first moment of contact, they start matching the body language, the opinions and beliefs, the speech rate and volume, and even the breathing of their customers and prospects. One obvious reason the technique of matching or mirroring works is that we each tend to trust and like people who are like ourselves. We each think we're normal. And so when a salesperson matches or mirrors the body language, the breathing, the attitudes, the opinions, the beliefs, and even the speech of his customer, it sends a strong message. I'm like you. We're in sync. We're walking step in step. You can trust me. Basically, then, there are 6 techniques that superior sellers use to create this bond with their customers. And I think that by taking a closer look at each of these techniques, you'll see many ways that you can use them every day to create your own hidden advantage in selling.
The first of the 6 techniques top salespeople use involves matching or mirroring a customer's body movements. This mirroring action has proven to be one of the most powerful ways to build trust, primarily because it creates an atmosphere of agreement below the conscious level of the customer. So let's examine the hidden force behind this technique, and keep in mind that in this first section of the film, some of the following scenes are taken from actual candid footage. For instance, notice how this saleswoman matches or mirrors body movements to that of her customer. First, watch the customer's hand move into his pocket. Now see how the saleswoman's hand moves into her pocket. A seemingly simple move, instinctively done, that builds a bond between them, below the conscious level. Here the customer gestures, and then so does she. And little by little, she gains his trust by making him feel comfortable, by creating an atmosphere of agreement that subtly says, we're alike. Now notice how in this case, the salesman on the left is careful not to mock or mimic the exact movements of the customer. Instead, he closely matches what the customer is doing. So when the customer makes this obvious move, the salesman follows with one that is less obvious. The same subtle mirroring action is true for this salesman on your left. Every move this salesman makes appears as natural and subtle as the next. And the image he creates as he uses this technique is one of sincerity, credibility, and trust. There are times, however, when the simple act of matching someone's body movements happens so quickly or subtly, we need to watch it in slow motion to be able to see it. First, watch the customer on your right. Notice how she crosses her legs, closes her hands, and taps her fingers together. Now, watch the salesman. He crosses his legs and puts his hands into a position that's similar to hers. But now, watch his fingers as they start tapping together. Without realizing it, this salesman even matches the tempo or rhythm of his customer's tapping motion. Dr. Moyne's research has shown that the customer isn't aware of this on the conscious level, but subconsciously, she senses that this salesman is trustworthy, that he is genuinely interested in helping her make the best buying decision. And watch how this saleswoman matches body movements in almost perfect harmony to that of her customer. First of all, keep an eye on the customer's hand movements. Notice how he moves his hands out and away from his body. She's so closely in step with this customer that when he starts to bring his hand back in, she automatically brings her hand in at the same time he does. And again, she moves her hands in perfect sync with his. She even nods her head in harmony with the up and down motion of his hands. And notice how their eyes are even in sync. She continues to match him with subtle movements and gestures that subconsciously say, "I'm like you. We're in sync. You can trust me." In fact, subtlety is probably the key factor in matching body movements. Obviously, if you're not careful, you can overdo it. As you can see, exaggerated or exact mirroring can be perceived as insincere or even insulting. So as a rule, when you're mirroring someone's body movements, remember to underplay rather than overplay. If you want to see how your customer feels about you and what you're saying, try this. After you match body movements for a period of time and feel you have established rapport, try switching your position to one different from your customer. Then watch the reaction that follows. If the customer starts to mirror your movements, then you know they are probably receptive to what you have to say and wish to maintain the relationship. We all want our customers to trust us and feel that we really do understand and care. Matching body movements is one way you can do this. It's a technique that can help you create a sense of oneness with your customers by showing you're like them, and that's a deep need we all have. A second way in which top salespeople use NLSP is by matching or mirroring their customer's voice. Dr. Moyne's research shows that in this technique, the salesperson will listen to the tone of voice, volume, rhythm, and speech rate of the customer. Then, in order to become more like the customer, the salesperson will change his or her overall speech to match that of the customer's. This top-flight real estate agent provides an excellent example of how this technique works. Normally, she talks quickly and loudly.
Please, could you go by Armstrong, check on some of their things on their survey maps? We're gonna have to go over all of that stuff. Okay. Thanks a lot. See you later. Bye.
But with this soft, slow-speaking businessman, she turns down her volume and slows her speech to match his.
Well, yes, it's a good-looking building. I'm not so sure this building doesn't have some possibilities.
Yes, it does have some possibilities. The underwriter is an excellent firm. And they have a pretty good record for quality construction.
Again, notice how she matches his voice, even his laughter.
You know, there's something else that we're looking at here, and that's investment and expansion, say
5 to 10 years down the road. So
that makes its location very important.
Well, there's no doubt the city is growing this way. I can get those figures for you if you'd like.
And notice how this saleswoman even mirrors the subtle changes in her customer's speech. For example, when his speech rate and volume increases, she matches it.
You know, you've got plenty of lighting in this area, but now what about the rest of the building? Employees don't like to sit in a dungeon.
No, you're right. And you know they had something like that in mind when they designed this building. Look, it has the maximum amount of windows.
Another way of mirroring voice is to match the pattern or rhythm of the customer's speech. Again, this is a method top salespeople use to connect with their customer, to establish rapport. Take, for example, this equipment salesman. He usually speaks in very complete sentences.
It's been awfully hot lately, hasn't it? Imagine you'll be glad when that cold front moves in and cools things off. Hard to believe that winter's going to be here soon. Snow will be blowing and drifting as high as that mound over there.
You're sure right about that. All right. Excuse me, will you?
Sure.
But notice how his customer generally speaks in short, quick phrases.
Yeah, it's a scorcher, and yeah, we're running behind.
Now listen as this salesman shortens his statements in order to more closely match the abrupt pattern or rhythm of his customer's speech.
Notice you got 2 small loaders loading 1 truck.
Yeah, completion date's getting close.
Yeah, well, might take a look at those new 98s. Just came out.
I think we're doing all right.
Well, you might be surprised. See, 98 operates with 1 operator loading 1 truck.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, could cut back on time and overhead.
Oh?
Every one of us wants to feel a sense of belonging, of connecting. And matching or mirroring your customer's voice is yet another way of establishing a more solid connection with your customers, no matter what kind of selling you do. So the next time you begin a sales call, try keeping this in mind. At first, listen closely to the tone of voice, volume, rhythm, and speech rate of your customer. If you notice their speech is soft and slow, or loud and abrupt, then in order to become like them, adjust your overall speech to match your customers.
Selling in terms of these first 2 techniques, matching body language and voice, can be extremely powerful, not just in building trust and rapport very quickly, but also in minimizing and dissolving differences between the salesperson and the customer. But there's a third technique, matching moods and emotions. Every customer, every prospect that a salesperson has is in a mood or an emotional state. And the more skillfully the salesperson can match that mood or that emotion, the more quickly he can build trust, build rapport, dissolve resistance, minimize the differences between the customer and the salesperson, and more successfully and quickly complete that sale.
So the third way Dr. Boyne found top producers building trust and rapport is by matching their customer's mood. For instance, if your customer is businesslike, as this one on your right is, then to become like him, match his mood and become businesslike. Or if they're in a more social mood, like this customer on the left, then you share small talk. And if your customer is angry, then match that mood too. An average salesperson, like this one on your left, usually fails to match mood. He thinks a soothing tone of voice will calm down this angry customer.
You know, as far as I'm concerned, you can cancel that order if you can't keep your machines running right.
Sir, I'm really sorry you feel that way. I really am. We'll do everything we can to help, okay?
But a top producer naturally raises his level of emotion to more closely match his customer's mood by matching his tone of voice, volume, and speech rate in a way that says, I understand you, and I'm just as concerned as you are.
All right, now what are you going to do about these breakdowns? You know, nobody gets paid if this place shuts down.
You're absolutely right. You can't afford breakdowns like this.
It's important for the salesperson to be as strong in his feelings as the customer. This shows he really does care to the same level of emotion or mood. The salesperson is not hostile, but shows he's deeply concerned about the well-being of his customer.
Do you realize what all this downtime's costing me? Not to mention the fine I'll be paying if the work isn't finished on time.
I understand. It must be costing you a fortune. And we just can't put up with it anymore. Look, until we identify what's causing these breakdowns, I'm seeing to it personally that your situation is given top priority.
And to build a more solid connection, this salesman continues to match the customer's mood.
You know, I let you design this package because I thought you knew what you were doing. I'm beginning to think I was wrong.
You know, you have every reason to feel this way. We really haven't solved the overload and vibration problems. But you know, I think I have a way that we can start solving this problem right now.
Well, what do you got in mind?
When the salesperson senses the customer is starting to calm down, he can lead him to a less hostile frame of mind.
Now, I'd have to check it out. But what if we can get our service manager or one of our top factory people out here first thing in the morning?
Well,
The salesman knows how to help dissolve anger and rebuild trust by first matching the customer's tone of voice, volume, and speech rate. And second, by matching the customer's mood or level of emotion. Remember, matching mood says to a customer, "I feel the same way you do," and it shows you care. The fourth technique top producers use is to make fairly obvious statements of fact, statements with which the customer cannot help but agree.
You said you want to keep at least $5,000 liquid until you close on your other home. Is that correct?
Yes.
Again, this is another way of saying we're alike. For instance, highly successful salespeople often use statements of fact in their opening remarks. This helps put the customer in a yes mode as soon as possible.
You probably hear the salon, but you've got quite a collection of artwork in the lobby.
Yes, we do.
Top producers also use factual statements throughout the sale. This helps maintain agreement with the customer.
Now, you said you just moved here from Charlottesville, right?
Yes.
Even stating simple truisms can help establish agreement, especially when the salesperson shapes the truism to the customer's business.
You know, most of the computer chains I talk to today tell me they are facing some really tough times in the computer industry. You know what they're interested in today more than anything else? They're still interested in return on investment. They're still interested in profitability, and they are still interested in being high-tech.
In short, putting the customer in a yes mode by stating obvious facts as early as possible helps set the stage for major agreement, the kind of agreement that leads them to buy. The fifth way superior salespeople use NLSP is by matching the customer's objection. For instance, an average salesperson like this one on your right usually tries to fight a customer's objection head-on by arguing against the customer.
Look, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't think insurance is the best investment I can make.
I can't agree with that, Mr. Jackson. And if you'll just give me a chance, I'll show you how upgrading your policy would really add to your profitability.
This type of response often causes a customer to dig in his heels all the harder.
I'm sorry. I'm just not interested.
But study after study shows that many times one of the best ways to overcome an objection is to agree with it. This lets customers know you respect their opinion, you're on their side, that you both agree on things, even when it comes to the objection.
As far as I'm concerned, life insurance is just a poor investment.
I couldn't agree more. Life insurance can be a poor investment, especially if you're looking at the initial investment. Would you agree?
Well, yes, I would.
This statement of agreement disarms the objection and helps regain rapport. It says, we see things the same way, and now the salesperson can work redirecting the objection.
Again, life insurance may not be a good investment, but it does have uses you may not be aware of. For example, you indicated earlier saving money is becoming more important to you. And insurance does act much like a savings account with additional benefits. Not only do you save money, but this particular policy will pay you prime interest rate plus. And another thing to consider is that your money can continue to earn on a tax-deferred basis.
And if the salesperson encounters resistance again, he or she will often repeat the objection, agreeing with it, and then redirect the customer to a more positive point of view.
Sure, I can see what you're trying to get at. But I still feel that insurance just isn't the best way to invest.
Again, I agree with you. There are investments that may be better. But I think you'll find with this insurance investment, you'll have profitability to the level you say you want. Let me show you what I mean.
Agreeing with an objection, repeating it, and redirecting the customer's viewpoint are quick ways of overcoming strong resistance because they help create an atmosphere of agreement, even when it comes to an objection. We now come to the sixth most fascinating and final NLSP technique, the last hidden advantage, reading your customer's mind by responding to eye movements. While reading someone's mind sounds like something a magician or fortune teller might do, it's actually very scientific and logical. Here's how it works. Our brain operates much like this videotape recorder. It not only records and plays back pictures and sounds, but also feelings. And in watching a customer's eyes, which are connected to the brain, we can often tell which of those 3 communication channels that person is tuned into at any moment. Here are some ways you can recognize the communication channel your customer is in. When someone is looking up, that person is probably seeing pictures. This means they're thinking and communicating visually. Watch the customer's eyes and listen to the words they use. They're in a visual mode.
Now, this is the way I see it. No, that's not really clear to me. Oh, I don't know. That's pretty hard to picture.
So people whose eyes move upward likely are thinking in pictures. Next, if you see your customer's eyes move back and forth, or down to this side, he's tuned into his audio mode and is probably hearing the words playing in his head. This type of customer might also use words that suggest talking and listening situations. For example,
well, okay, can you tell me about it? Well, sounds okay to me. Okay, I hear you.
So eyes moving back and forth, or down to this side, tell you your customer is listening to the words playing back in his head. And the final position that a person's eyes often move is down to this side. When someone's eyes move down here, they are likely feeling something. They might say something like,
I just don't feel comfortable making a purchase that big right now. I'm afraid it just won't cool my room. I've got a hunch this just might be the right way to go.
So, when eyes move down to this side, that person is likely thinking in terms of their feelings. So there are 3 channels or modes in which people think and communicate: pictures, sounds, and feelings. But what good is this information to you? Let's look at some of the ways that you can use these eye observations in your selling. First, you must determine whether your customer at that moment is primarily in the visual, sound, or feeling state by careful observation.
Okay, I'd like to take a look at that. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Then, if you've determined your customer is visual, begin using visual words.
So can you see how this might clearly bring a better return in your investment?
Yeah, I can see where it might be better.
Now, from what you've just seen, does it look like you might be able to use this particular software?
Well, I don't know. Why don't we take another look at it?
Okay.
With visual customers, you can also stress the visual benefits of the product.
Some employees like the look of this anti-glare screen. As you can see, it gives off less glare, which makes it a lot easier on the eyes, especially if you're working with it for long periods of time.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, the green CRT screens are the most popular. Most of my corporate clients prefer their clearer image.
Well, I can see what you mean.
And finally, help your visual customer see your product in his or her mind's eye.
You know, all of these units are going to take up quite a chunk of space. Can you picture where you might put them?
Oh, let's see. I think that...
But what words do you use to sell to sound-oriented customers? You'll want to use words that are more verbal than visual. So watch their eyes, listen for sound words, then respond with sound-based words.
What's the word with these computerized parts they're putting in? I hear that if even something minor goes wrong, you have to bring it back in. Everything's connected to some microchip.
Well, part of what you've heard is true, but let me tell you the rest of the story on that.
I've heard a lot of good stuff about the suspension system. Is it really as good as I've heard?
Well, I can tell you what I've heard.
Audio customers like to hear what other people say. So if you use testimonials about your product, remember this. People who hear sounds as they think need time to listen to the words playing back in their heads. Allow yourself plenty of time when you talk to these customers.
You said you knew Jack Ames.
Yes, I do.
Then you probably heard. He bought a car a lot like the one you're looking at.
No, I didn't know. I haven't heard from Jack in a while.
He came in about a month ago. He said he hadn't had any problems with the car at all. He was very pleased with it.
Huh.
He talked about a trip he took with his family.
Another way to reach these customers is to get them to listen to the way your product sounds. That is, if you have a product that can appeal to this part of their senses.
You said you'd heard somewhere how quiet these cars are.
Yes.
Then you'll appreciate this. Listen to the way these doors latch. You can barely hear them. Go ahead and start it up and hear how quiet the engine is. Nice, huh?
Remember, customers tend to listen more closely and understand you better when you talk to them on the communication channel they use the most: sound, pictures, or feelings. Finally, let's see how you can communicate with customers who are in a feeling state. Again, watch their eyes and listen to the words they use.
You know, I've had it with the air conditioner we have now. It only half cools the room. The thing's always sweaty. The darn filter's usually gummed up.
Once you've determined your customer is in a feeling state, match their emotions by talking to them in feeling terms. Use words and examples that are based in emotions.
Is that it?
Yes. And as long as you maintain it, it'll be that easy to take care of. Those older units, like the one you have now, can be really frustrating, can't they?
You're right there.
You can also communicate feelings by telling stories that deal with emotions. For example,
that reminds me of a couple who bought a unit just like this one. When they came in, they were really fed up with their old unit. He was tired of coming home to a blast furnace, and neither one of them felt like cooking when they got home. I think they just sat around all night and sweat. Well,
even using analogies that deal with emotion can appeal to these types of customers.
let me ask you this. Have you ever bought a brand new car?
Well, sure.
Okay, when you got that car, it was covered by a warranty in case anything broke, right?
Right.
But let me ask you, did that warranty cover things like spark plugs, parts you need for a tune-up, say front end alignment?
No.
No. But if those things had been covered by a service warranty, that would have made you feel a lot more secure, wouldn't it?
Well, I suppose.
And with air conditioners, you indicated how frustrated you are with your old unit. Well, a service agreement might alleviate some of that tension. You see, our service people come out automatically, and you don't have to be the one to worry if the filter plugs up.
Of course, some people switch from one channel to another. 1 minute they're thinking in sounds, then pictures, then back to feelings.
You know, I can see how that might help. But darn it, it just irritates me when I have to pay extra on something that's brand new.
Obviously, you can't expect to catch every eye movement and match every channel. But by using this technique whenever you can, you'll be responding with one of the fastest and best ways known to build trust and rapport with the customer. So there are 6 steps the superior salespeople use. 6 hidden advantages you can use. Matching or mirroring body movements. Matching tone of voice, volume, speech rate, and patterns or rhythm. Matching mood, especially when handling difficult or hostile customers. Matching with statements of fact and truisms that can bring you and your customer together more quickly. Matching objections by agreeing with the customer to disarm resistance and redirect his point of view. And matching a customer's communication channel by responding to eye movements. Eyes up, customers are thinking in pictures. Eyes moving back and forth or down to this side, they're thinking in sounds. And eyes down to this side, your customers are feeling something.
And while matching or mirroring is not the whole answer to becoming a top producer, and it's not the whole of NLSP, we have found that it is the single most important element in achieving high-level sales success. By matching or mirroring the customer, the salesperson shows, I care about you. Now, at first, when the salesperson uses these techniques, he or she may feel a little bit self-conscious. That's okay. After just a little bit of practice, salespeople find they use these techniques so easily and with so much comfort that it becomes completely instinctive, just the way it is for sales superstars.
And as NLSP worked for Tom Oles, who saw his sales increase 1,300%, and for Ed Michaels, whose retail sales rose 314%, or for Toshiba Medical, who gained a significant share of the market, or even as it helped Patterson Capital Corporation generate billions of dollars worth of business, the NLSP system can work for you by giving you that hidden advantage, the hidden advantage you can get from neuro-linguistic sales programming, the newest approach in selling today.